Hello, everybody. I'm Anthony along with Chris today, and this is episode 60 of Hard Knock Hawks. Before we start, as always, we like to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to this episode to help make this podcast grow. Today, we're going to be talking about the results of the NBA trade deadline that happened a few days ago. Not only are we going to be talking about some of the Hawks moves, we're also going to be highlighting a few key trades that happened around the league over the past few days and give a few thoughts about it. But let's talk about some of the trades that the Hawks did over the last week. So I'm just gonna start talking about like one trade that was a little controversial. I saw on Hawks Twitter and some forums. Hawks trade Luke Kennard for Gabe Vincent and a 2026 second round pick, 2027 second round pick from the Lakers. So I thought this one was interesting. Luke Kennard is technically an expiring is not technically is an expiring contract. He was playing really really well. I thought throughout this stretch, the past few months. So they just traded him basically just to get a second round pick and Gabe Vincent, who's also expiring right now. So I thought that was just a really interesting move that they made just to get more assets. What's your thoughts generally?
I mean, yeah, it's a good move. It's one of those moves you want to see your GM make, like on the fringes. You just want more draft assets. They said that was like a clear priority for them this deadline and higher than trying to make the playoffs. So holding on to Luke really doesn't make sense if you can get what you want, right? I don't know that Gabe Vincent, I don't know what he's going to bring to the team. He was a little bit disappointing for the Lakers. But he's still expiring, so your money, it's a wash, and you get an asset. So, all good.
Yeah. To correct something I said, it wasn't a 2027 second round pick. It was a 2032 second round pick from the Lakers. So, but I think, yeah, I think it is interesting because I guess you could say like Gabe Vincent, if CJ's having a terrible night, you could play Gabe Vincent as that guard role and he can maybe provide some, defensive help maybe. But like, then again, I don't know how well that would work. And honestly, I don't see him possibly.
Is Dyson injured in this scenario?
I mean,
Dyson not injured.
I mean, I'm just saying, just as like
that's
the backup. Yeah, just deep in the back. I just don't see a scenario where I think he's just gonna play like a whole bunch.
No, I don't think he's gonna play much at all. But I mean, I think he keeps Keaton Wallace from ever playing again.
Yeah. So, and always guard depth always helps because you never know what can happen.
It's gonna be injuries in the NBA.
Yeah. But the next trade we're gonna be talking about is this one's another interesting one. V. Krejci traded for Duop Reith and 2 second round picks. This happened a few days before the trade deadline ended. Duop Reith was, waived later on the day of the trade deadline to make space for other trades the Hawks made. In the trade, they got their 2027 second round pick back. So once again, this is more asset accumulation. People have their own thoughts on V. I made like a little rant in the beginning of the season how I thought V wasn't that good. Obviously, the shooting was really good during the beginning of the season for him, but then he just kind of declined as the season went on, which I thought was really concerning for him, especially near the end of his tenure. But I think V was the representative of Hawks culture because I don't think anyone expected him to be this great, that great of a shooter. He's literally, I think, the franchise leader in true shooting, which is insane. Like he was that good for that. Like I couldn't believe it. But it's just it's interesting, like how well he played. Like when he was good, he was like really good, and I thought he brought a lot of energy at times. So what did you think, Chris?
Veet's just a crazy development story for the Hawks. It's not one they usually hit on. To be like the Thunder drafted him, and so Sam Presti's eye to begin, but they didn't really have room for him. That's what happens with that type of roster. But the Hawks brought him in, and there were some struggles at first. They ended up sending him out, but then brought him back because they liked who he is as a person. But just a lot of development for him down in the G League and working on his game and a last 3 years, he's been a 40% 3-point shooter, which is crazy for where he came in. Like, didn't want to shoot at all to begin with, and now he's coming off pin downs and like fall away jumpers like in the fourth quarter, really with no conscience. So Veit has really come a long way as a basketball player. His confidence. Main issue for him is even though he's 6'8", he's like looks kind of like malnourished a little bit. Like he still needs to get some like beef and steak in his diet. And that's the main issue for Veit. That's what's kind of held him back. If you're 6'8" and you can shoot like that, and you're not playing like a major role for a team, you lack the physical tools really to defend in the NBA, because he's a solid passer, but he couldn't handle ball pressure because he is so weak. So he was pretty much just became a shooter. But in today's league, you need bodies that can shoot, and that's a guy that the Hawks developed, flipped him for picks. So I'm fine with that. Doo-Wop, thank you for your services.
Legendary run on the Hawks.
Yeah.
Legendary run.
I hope he got a jersey.
Yeah. Like with V, it's interesting because I think for a good amount of time, I felt like he was playing out of position on this team. Because like you mentioned, like he was kind of weak. Like I feel like he should be playing the 2, honestly.
He's a guard for sure.
He's a guard. Forward. He's a guard, not forward. Which is interesting because Quinn used him in like so many ways throughout his time. He even played as like a power forward at points, which is insane. which is why I call him the Czech Army knife. Quinn just used him in so many ways, and I like that, but I just don't see him as that kind of player with like the size that he has and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I don't know if it was like a showcase, but I mean, Veit is 6'8", and they flipped him, right? So
yeah,
but yeah, there's no reason for Veit to be on the floor at power forward. He can shoot, but yeah, that was crazy run.
Yeah, but yeah, even though I
was gonna say, my bad, is that coming into the season, I thought Veit was gonna play like 8 minutes because Veit's solid passer. He can move the ball. He's a connective player, and the 3 was coming along, but he's playing like 24 minutes.
He's closing games.
Spot starting. Yeah, like that's not the role he's supposed to be in. Like that is like a 7th, 8th man role, and he's supposed to be like 12th man on the roster, like everybody's buddy, but like he's just above the dudes that are injured, and like, you know, he's still wearing like the rookie backpack.
Yeah, I think it really does show you like how much trust I think Quinn did have into him, and also, like I mentioned, you know, how much Veit represent Hawks culture, but at the same time, you know, at some point they put too much into that culture, right? And this is probably part of the moves that they're making to, you know, really start making their depth better, hopefully. So we'll see more in the off season. They're probably gonna sign more dudes, hopefully. So it's gonna be interesting. But let's go on to the next trade. This is another one. So this is a trade we're probably gonna talk about later. But Jared Jackson Jr. got traded to the Utah Jazz, and in that trade, Jock Landale also got traded to the Utah Jazz from the Grizzlies. But Atlanta actually traded for Jock Landale for just cash. And during this time, like after the trade deadline, he actually drove from Memphis to Atlanta just to play for his first available game. He arguably had like one of the best games ever you could have after like a trade deadline. Like he matched his career high of 26 points. Like it was honestly really impressive considering that all the context around it. But, you know, I thought this was a really good trade considering how badly we need a backup center. Jock Landale is not a good defender as a center, but he's a big body. He's good offensively. So, you know, that's what you need. He's a shooting big, and, you know, Quinn's gonna love that. He's gonna probably pair. I said probably, but I think he's gonna pair really well with Yucca as we see in the coming days. So, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, it's I've made that drive from Memphis before, by the way, a few times. It's not that bad. It's mostly straight like just highways. There's nothing in Alabama, so he's a straight shot. But yeah, no, that was really fun, honestly. The Hawks bring in like another rando big, just kind of play in the fringes, and that's the type of stuff you got to do if you want to like hit on any type of players that you can find and be sustainable, right? And Jock comes in, takes advantage of an opportunity, goes off. The three was on. He was hitting fourth quarter threes, like just yeah, full confidence. The Hawks need big bodies, and that position you need multiple guys because there's going to be injuries, and you can't be down to one ever. You kind of
Yeah.
always need more than one. So yeah, having Jock come in and feels like he's embracing everything, like big opportunity for him. So yeah, I love it. Ansi found a shooting big, right? And that if that guy's coming off your bench, that helps because you can get an anchor or something in that realm to offset that. So yeah, that's a really nice move for Ansi.
Yeah, I think for just cash, I think it's just good to just have a backup center like this, especially since we literally just only had one guy. So I think he's just really good for what this team is just needed right now.
Yeah,
But
trade three and
yeah,
no assets have gone out.
yeah,
Only draft assets have come in.
yeah. Now so far, I think majority of the trades, I think, in my opinion, have been pretty good. Now this trade, the last trade Atlanta did, I think is interesting. You're shaking your head. Why are you okay? Let me just get out the way. So the last trade is they traded Kristaps Porzingis for Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga. It's just a player swap, just Porzingis for Kuminga and Hield. This is interesting to me. I'm going to let you give your thoughts first, Chris.
No, you give your thoughts first.
Okay.
You've given your thoughts first on everything so far.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Okay. I find this to be an interesting, I guess, buy low situation. I get why they traded Porzingis. He's only played 17 out of 52 games, which is like barely 30% or even 20% of the season, I think, if I do the math right in my head. So, considering his health, even though he's like an amazing player on the court for this team and its offense, which they badly need, at some point they need the center depth. And you can't, and they have to find something else to do with that 30 million right now. They need like someone that's available right now despite everything. And just getting some players back, especially like I mentioned before, Jock Landale for just cash is always good. My issue with this is that I don't think the players that they got for Porzingis are very good at all. Like Buddy Hield, he's a bad defender. He's incredibly streaky. He's only guaranteed $3 million, I think, for his next year. So if it was just me, I would honestly never play him and just cut him immediately. But I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think that's in their plans. They're just gonna keep him, and they're just gonna probably play him if they ever need shooting, which is something that I'm absolutely gonna hate. But we'll see about that. And the main guy, which is a lot of people were hyped about, was Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga to me is a bad player. He's very athletic, that's true, but I don't think he's a really good defender. I don't think he's gonna fit well with this team's offense. I think he takes a lot of bad shots. I know I've seen people say, well, he needs more spacing to get his game off, which I don't understand because he was playing with like Steph Curry for a majority of his minutes. So I just don't trust him to be able to adapt to this team in like 20 plus games, probably 20 games because of the knee bruise that he has and the fact that he's going to be playing after the All-Star break. And my biggest fear is that let's say he does have a good 20 games. Let's say he just goes off. They're going to give him a big contract in the offseason. And it just goes back to just being bad. And we just wasted a bunch of cap space giving Kuminga a big contract for just to get like a bad performances from every night. If it was me, I would have just got picks from the Warriors and just forgot about Kuminga. I get the buy low because, you know, if they can figure it out with Kuminga, like maybe they can make him like what they did with Sadiq Bey, just make him do bully ball, just go straight to the rim all the time, like they did a few years ago with Bey. I think I would be way happier, but I don't know if that he's gonna be that guy to do that, especially with his mentality. So for me, I'm just kind of very pessimistic. Well, not kind of. I'm just very pessimistic about it. It's just something I'm gonna have to wait to see on the court. Maybe it'll change my mind, but right now I don't know. I just when I saw the notification, I was just very, very like displeased when I saw it. I'm just like, oh, okay, we have him on our team now. That's I just didn't like it. Chris.
No, I really wanted to get you on at least on the record. I want to know how you really felt
on the record.
about
Okay.
Kuminga.
Okay.
Especially early, and then I want to check in periodically to see how you feel about him over time.
Okay.
I know it's very strong. I think there's some weird propaganda out there because I think he's a better player than a lot of people perceive. I think there's a lot to his game that he brings to the Hawks that they need really badly. Obviously, just the physical size. He's a guy that you can put on bigger wings defensively and just bring some resistance. It's a position you're not always going to stop those guys, but you need somebody that can kind of get in their way a little bit. So it'll be nice to see him get after that. We've seen him get stops. We've seen him struggle. Young players, consistency is an issue, right? And this is a guy that was in and out of the lineup in Golden State. His role was not consistent at all, especially the last couple of years. Just straight DNPs, healthy, and that's not great. I don't think Steve Kerr ever figured out exactly how to use him or really embraced him as a player. And I think there's things that he does that fit exactly what we do. I was listening to Ansi talk, and he kind of was direct in saying that we don't run the Golden State offense here, and that he does think Kuminga to bring some things that we need. The first thing was the rim pressure. He mentioned the ability to defend the big wings with that size, but the athleticism was obviously the raving thing because he's one of the best athletes in the NBA. And this is a Hawks team that's trying to get out and run as much as possible. So you need guys that can do that. I think the decision making is a fair critique. I think a lot of young players struggle with that, and the system and how you're being used kind of factor in. I don't think the Golden State system is kind of comparative to most teams. I think the reads he's going to be making here are a little bit simpler. It's a lot of drive and replace and getting handoffs, maybe setting some screens and rolling. I feel like everything that we ask our guys to do are things that he can do and already can execute. And I don't think he'll be asked to do anything outside of increase that 3-point rate that he might be uncomfortable with. But you're talking about another wing that can put the ball on the floor and get downhill, right? And that's a big part of the offense. That's a big part of half-court offense in the NBA is being able to generate drives. If you look at the guys that are leading in drives per game in the NBA, it's probably a list of like all the MVP candidates outside of like Joker because he's a center. So it's something you need to keep your offense moving, and it's something that the best players are doing for their teams. And Jalen is still developing in that. And as a bigger player, they do struggle sometimes getting downhill, especially from a standstill. So if Jalen doesn't see something he likes, having another option, second side wing that is really aggressive and kind of wants to play in that Jaylen Brown mold. He really likes Jimmy Butler. He and Jimmy got along a lot, and I think he was working with him, and I think he understands how to attack those one-on-ones, and I think the Hawks can create those for him and give him some driving lanes. And Jalen's a playmaker. I think when your best player is a playmaker versus like Steph being their best player, and it was about finding Steph, I think that's a very different mindset for a player. And I think here Quinn has everyone be aggressive, shoot the effing ball, and I think that's great for all players. And I think he has a chance to really kind of reclaim the narrative, right? And really a change of scenery has been great for players before. Yeah, and I look forward to bringing him in. This is a player I've liked for years, and it's the type of profile I like athletically. It's the position that I've been wanting them to address since last June. And when you can do it with giving up a player that wasn't playing, it's all profit. Anything you get from JK. And yeah, if it doesn't work out and he and Quinn and don't see eye to eye, then you can trade him in the offseason. You got a team option. He's expiring after next season, so you can move that contract if you want next season similarly. And now you have a bigger contract salary slot to work with if you are trying to make moves from here on and he doesn't fit, because there are teams that have shown interest already for him last offseason. So yeah, you can resell him, but I think it's a great buy low with a guy that has a really interesting ceiling that a lot of people really, really like around the NBA. There's a lot of players and ex-players that really, really love what JK brings, right? And I see a lot of what they see. I think the potential is through the roof. And next to Jalen, you can have those guys going down the wing, man, and that can be dynamic. And if he's a guy that can add to the scoring load or take some of that scoring load off Jalen's shoulders, that's great. We've seen him score 16 in a season, 15 in a season. The 16 was at what, 59% true shooting. He was in and out of the starting lineup that year, but played 74 games and was almost 60% true shooting.
I do want to ask you this. Sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
where do you think Kuminga is going to fit into the rotation right now? Because I think with all the players the Hawks are going to play, I think even when he is healthy, I think it's going to be an issue where he's still going to be having trouble finding a spot to play, honestly, because I mean, right now, whose minutes is he going to take? I mean,
for me, in that, I think they brought him in to play. I don't know that they brought him in to not have a role. If they did, then they're not. Then I wouldn't play him at all, and you're just going to sell him on and never activate him. But for me, if you're starting him, I think when you lost Trey, your guard rotation changed, and I think Nah kind of needs to be a starter, even though it's not necessarily his true role. I don't think they have another guard on the roster that they should be running out there to start games next to Dyson. So with Nah not being your sixth man, and I think CJ being older, those legs, you don't want him out there as much. You want to reduce those minutes as much as possible and control that. I would have JK early in the former Dre Hunter sixth man role, where you have a guy that can bring you some juice immediately off the bench and then see how he grows within the organization. I think it's the upside there is he could become a starter next to Jalen at the forward position, and you have two really, really athletic wings that are attacking and putting pressure on people all game. Because for me, I think that's one of the keys to today's NBA is being able to play through your wings. I think that's what most teams are trying to accomplish when they take these wings really early in the draft. They want to be able to have that Kawhi, Paul George, 1-2 punch, the Jaylen Brown, the Jason Tatum, the Paolo, the Franz, the Scotty, the BI. Everybody wants their two wings to be the guys that are making their decisions all game and the ones that are getting the ball and attacking, because they nullify the really good point of attack defenders who are giving all these guards trouble. The Hawks can play bigger across the board. I think he really opens up a lot for this team. especially if he hits. This is a guy who won't command as much in salary because of the turmoil that has happened in his career before. It's almost like he's been injured for a couple seasons. So if you do hit on this guy and you want to keep him, you're looking at something south of maybe the Jalen Johnson contract for a guy that could be giving you 27 and 3 as a starter. His per 36 has been pretty consistent for most of his career until the last season or so, but I believe it's like 27 and 4 in that range, right? This is a guy that's productive in the NBA, and next to Jalen, he's harder to stop. I think in Golden State, he's playing a lot of 4. He's not going to be playing a lot of 4 here. Jalen Johnson plays the 4 here for 36 minutes a game, almost, maybe more. So now you have JK who can give you a little bit of the 4 behind Jalen, but then also get out and run next to him and really put teams in a bind when you're talking about who they're going to put on who, right? I don't know where you're going to hide your guard if you do have JK, Dyson, and Nah out there. Those are all guys that run over 6'7" and are willing to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. So I think the Hawks have a really good chance to hit on a player that could add so much for absolutely nothing. They got him for free, basically. You traded a pick for KP, and you traded KP for a player that's former lottery pick that's literally about to like hit that stage in his career where he can really be a plus player. 23 years old. It's perfect age for a guy to really hit his prime and to get going. So I'm excited, man. Player that athletic in general, I just want around the organization because you need guys that are strong and fast and big in the NBA. We get out athleted so much, and like dudes just like go through our chests. So having a guy that can do that to someone else every now and then would be nice.
I wish I could be excited as you. It's just from what I see in Golden State, I'm worried about like the fact that I don't know how well he and Dyson, like, let's say if he does eventually manage to start one day, I don't know how well he and Dyson can play together, considering, both aren't good shooters. So that's, I think, going to be an issue. I think the processing thing, I think you mentioned and I mentioned that, I think that's going to be an issue. And yes, like Golden State's offense is different from here, but this is still a motion offense. So I'm worried about how that is going to translate here. It's only 20 games, but I'm just gonna be wondering like how well is he gonna adapt to it? People say like Quinn fixed DeAndre Hunter, right? But that took a year and a half. So I mean, I don't.
What are you concerned about him being able to like execute in the offense exactly?
Like
playing off the catch, like, because these are things that he's done before. I don't know that. What is he being asked to do here that you don't think he can do?
Things like playing off the catch stuff, like like that. Because it's like, yes, he's done it. It's just there are times where he's just like he could take like some terrible shots and stuff, and I'm just kind of concerned about that, especially because, like I mentioned, like he doesn't necessarily have that I'm gonna explain it poorly. I'm trying to think about the best way to like frame this. Give me a second. You can talk while I'm trying to think about
for
this.
For me, I like players that are aggressive, and this is a guy that we need right now. This is a team with a lot of players that like to defer and like to pass and move the ball, and I think this is a guy that can actually finish some of those passes. You really need a guy that can finish his drives, and so many of these guys don't. I think adding that is huge.
I mean,
kicking it out to the corner, man, I don't know if it's that complicated. I'll be honest. Seeing like Dyson dribbles into the middle and kicks it to a shooter, I don't think that he's incapable of making these plays. He's got a solid assist percentage. He has Zach's highest assist percentage so far as a Hawk is less than 8%. Kuminga has never been less than 8%. Since his second year, he's been over 12%. He's 15 15% assist percentage this year. His rebound percentage, consistently total rebounds, round 10, it's 13% this year. This is a guy that does things at the forward position that you want. You might, I'm not sure exactly what assist percentage everyone wants the small forward to have, right? Kenyon Martin made this point on Gil's Arena about James Wiseman. He was like, no, he wasn't playing like Draymond. He's a scorer. You drafted a scorer, and then you wanted him to play like Draymond and like someone else, right? And this guy Kuminga is a scorer. And I think today's NBA, they always want people to be a playmaker. That's Jalen Johnson's job. I think if Kuminga can extend advantages that Jalen creates and move the ball quickly and swing it, we've seen him make swing passes. Like, this guy didn't have the ball in Golden State so much that, like, you know what I'm saying? He knows how to move the ball. So I don't know how destructive this guy's gonna be.
I mean, my thing is also because I was trying to look up some stuff. Like, he isn't like, he's not that good of a driver. Like, he has like poor shot quality, stuff like that. You know, yeah, he's looking to score, but there are times where he's just not that great at doing that. You know, it's kind of frustrating to me because I see the potential of him, but when I watch him, it's like, yeah, he's not that good. So I'm like, why are people hyping him up so much?
It's the tools and it's the ability and the flashes, right? That's literally what you're looking for, and he's not. Yeah.
And I see the tools, you know, I see it, you know, but I'm just wondering, like, is this 20 game sample size that we're gonna see gonna be enough to like convince this organization or even convince people to be like, okay, he's the guy, or are they just gonna trade him? Because honestly, I don't think it's gonna be enough, or it's gonna really like prove anything in the end. Because I mean,
it's an interesting concept there, right? Because you're coming from the angle that he has to like prove it to them in this 20 game sample, and that they actually aren't interested in him yet, which I don't think that's the case, because that's an expiring deal that I think they could have moved in multiple ways. And I think the Hawks, I don't know that their interest in Kuminga is brand new. This Ansi knows this kid personally. He was there when Golden State drafted him, and then they went out and made this deal, which I'm sure they could have made other deals. There were talks of them going after centers. So I personally, it sounds to me like they are interested in this kid.
Yeah, it does.
Ansi said that Quinn is excited to coach him. Like, I know that a lot of the fans are like seeing the lowlights and hearing the Kerr propaganda, because they blamed him for their losses.
I've seen a lot of people excited for Kuminga, man. I've seen a lot of Hawks fans.
No, there are a lot of people excited for Kuminga. There's also a lot of people that like eat up the Kerr stuff, and it's been a rivalry within the Golden State fan base. I follow this for a long time because I root for the kid, and it's hilarious because Hawks fans tell me that like Zach doesn't have a consistent role and that it's affecting his development and his play, right? And then I look at them and I tell them that Zach has started every game possible when he's healthy, and he plays the same amount of minutes, right? Jonathan Kuminga was in his best season pulled out of the lineup. He only started about half the games, and the next season they're giving him healthy DMPs. He only started 10 games, and they're messing with his minutes and taking him in and out of the rotation. This year they did the same thing after he had a good start, and they were saying he's going to be in the rotation. And Kuminga is a great player, and then immediately flipped on him and then took him out. And then they throw him back out there randomly, and he had a 20-point game on like 7 of 10 shooting. Then he played again after that and had the knee bruise, right? But this is like everything they're accusing Quinn Snyder of doing to Zach, Kerr did to Kuminga. He did not give this kid an opportunity really at any chance, and he literally just would take him out of the rotation, and they were blaming him for the Warriors not being the Warriors anymore, which is the real reason is that they got old. and Draymond can't impact games the way he used to. But I saw a player with a lot of talent that wasn't even being played, right? So when Hawks fans tell me that like Quinn is ruining this kid's development by only playing him 24 minutes in every game and starting him in every game,
Listen,
and I see a kid who is literally being benched for almost no reason, and then Moses Moody comes out and says, "Yeah, they don't tell us what we did wrong when they pull us out of the game. We just have to sit there and like guess and figure it out." And that's the environment that he's coming from. And he's not being embraced, right? And he's coming to Atlanta where they tell everybody to shoot the ball, be aggressive, go drive, kick it, make quick decisions. They don't say, right, do this specific. They say pass, dribble, shoot, right? Make a decision when you get the ball quickly. That's it. And I think Kuminga has the tools, and the players here have the passing. We've seen him make cuts off ball, right? He can finish off ball as a cutter. He catches the lob. He can set screens and roll. He can take the ball and drive himself. Like, this is a guy that does so many things we need in the offense and that we lack just because, especially at that position. Until Corey came in, we didn't have a three that could literally just like come around, get the ball and drive consistently and go for layups. Like, it was just Dyson, Nah, and Jalen are the only guys that were doing that really. Now CJ and Corey brought that, and now JK brings that as well. So you have different launch points where you can actually initiate the offense from. And Jalen has different release valves when he sees a wall in front of him and wants to turn to hand it to somebody. It can be Jonathan Kuminga now coming downhill like a bat out of hell. And I don't know that it's going to take too long to get him going. I think that's part of why they are actually holding him out until after the deadline. I know they're saying the reevaluating for a knee bruise, but I think they want to get him ready because I think he's going to be a guy that's asked to score for this team because they need it. This offense is not good. The offensive rating is bad.
We know.
I know. And they need someone that can score. I know everyone's like, oh, he fit the offense? This offense isn't good enough to preserve the fit. Okay. This is not him fitting into prime championship Golden State. Okay. This is him coming into an offense that needs to find a way to score and that needs to find new ways to score and establish consistent formulas for offense.
Which is why I said
right now are not good enough.
Which is why I say I think hopefully I want him to be like just more bully ball. I just want to see him just attack the rim, just be bully ball, like what they did with Sadiq Bey. Just do that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want him to do that whole time.
I think you can create that matchup way more for him here in Golden State. You got to understand when he's coming in the game, Draymond's probably at the center and he's playing the 4 position for them, which means every power forward in the league is on. When Jalen Johnson's at the 4 in the NBA, if you are going to put your power forward on Jonathan Kuminga, then that's a win for the Hawks because that means Jalen Johnson is getting defended by somebody small, right? Odds are that 4 is going to be on JJ because you're going to have to nullify him. Jonathan Kuminga is going to have much better matchups in Atlanta and a primary player that's looking to move the ball and throw lobs to him and get him going and move it early. I know Steph doesn't monopolize the ball, but I think he monopolizes the play because everything in Golden State is about him. And I think Jalen Johnson is much more flow of the offense and he can bring it up, pass it off, and then he can get it back and then just drive or get a shot. I think with Steph, everything is like about finding Draymond so that he can get Steph a handoff or hitting Steph on this. And like, or setting a back cut, setting a screen on back cut off and roll off Steph. It's just, I think it's a lot more simple here. It's a lot cleaner for our players. We've seen guys come in and hit the ground running. And I think the Hawks just have way more NBA players now, which is great. And the athleticism level is picking up. Corey Kisper's a solid athlete for a wing. Kuminga's a nice athlete for a wing. And as you continue to turn this roster over, I want to see them continue to get bigger and better athletes. I think this is a great first step.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. I'm just gonna leave it off here because I do want to talk about the other trade. So I'll be anti Kuminga until I'm proven wrong, and then Yeah, Chris,
You're gonna love this guy in like 2 weeks,
listen.
man. Well, no, I don't know when the All-Star game is, because I don't really care about
Listen,
that.
man.
But
If I'm wrong, I'll say it. I always admit when I'm wrong. I always admit when I'm wrong.
The whole group is here for it.
You can say whatever you want about me, but I always admit when I'm wrong. That's a fact. Okay. That's a fact. Most of the time.
Good man.
Most of the time. But let's talk about a few certain trades that happened during the trade deadline that I think are interesting. Actually, I do want to ask a specific question too after we talk about these few trades. So first trade I want to talk about is the Pacers get Zubac for the Pacers get Zubac and the Clippers get Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers 2026 first round pick that is top 4 protected, their 2029 first round pick, and a second round pick. There were more players, but that's basically the gist.
Pacers gave up their 26 pick in that protected?
Yeah, it's 2020. Yeah. I think that's a
interesting,
crazy trade. I feel like I gotta make sure I got that trade right, but like I feel like that trade is that's a weird all-in trade kind of, especially in a draft this loaded, you know.
Yes and no, right? Protected, you do allow yourself one of the transcendent players if it does end up 1 through 4 who are guys good enough to like change what you're doing. For them, Kingston Fleming's, though they might want him as an insurance plan, that probably would be smart, but probably doesn't interest them that much. And most of the rest of those players probably aren't changed. They think they're a championship team, right? And when you give up a pick like that for a guy like Zubac, you think you're getting like the final piece for a championship roster. They were just in the finals, and they think the only reason they didn't win Game 7 is because Tyrese's Achilles popped. So as an organization, you're looking at a guy who you don't really use, Benedict Mathurin, is a little bit extra offense, but you're a team that's really small, I feel like, and this gives you a center. You replace Miles Turner. Now, the question for me is if Zubac actually can play their style of offense. Now, I think they probably need to adapt it a little bit for the postseason because the crazy up tempo isn't great for game management, and you can let other teams get back in the game because they're getting quick shots too, and you're going back and forth. But in the half court and in the postseason, you need a guy that can help you control possessions, and Zubac can get those rebounds and really play 2-man game with Tyrese, and you can have a big guy that can finish at the rim, because that's an easier way to make your money than hitting jump shots against good defenses. So I understand the move if like they really think they're a championship team. I don't know how I feel about them as a group. I think they really got hot at the right time. So it could come back to bite them, but we'll see.
I don't know. I don't feel like they didn't get hot. I think they're just really, really good because last season, the season before last season, they went to Eastern Conference Finals. Like they were, even though they got swept, it felt like they were basically the closest team to being the Celtics, honestly. You know, and I just felt like they were probably just a really, really good team. They're just a really well coached team. But I think some of the depth is obviously like kind of faltering. You see like Ben Shepherd kind of regressing. You know, Obi Toppin obviously isn't playing this season, but without like Tyrese Halliburton, or like some of your players are just kind of washed without him. So I think Tyrese Halliburton and Zubac are obviously going to eat. So that's going to be huge. It's just trading that 2026 pick when they have potentially 6 or 7 players that are all really, really good. I think it's just a huge, huge mistake. If that's just
interesting. So I think where it really hurts them is that they've missed on so many draft picks kind of throughout this process, and their top end players, and then their moves and free agency with Nesmith. I think they hit Nembhard in the 2nd round or something. Maybe it was. I don't think he was a lottery pick or anything, but they've hit on some like picks that like kind of salvaged it, but trading for Tyrese and trading for Pascal really got them into contention. But like the players, that second timeline group never really manifested.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving off of
Like,
Mathurin is the first step of that.
yeah.
And Jarris Walker is a big disappointment for them. I feel like
Uh-huh.
they've kind of been trying to play him
And
recently.
I just mentioned Ben Shepherd.
Yeah, and
So
Ben
it's
Shepherd.
like,
So yeah, all their cheap guys are kind of gone now. For me, I understand if you're just like saying like, fuck it, we're just gonna go in with these vets and get Zubac and go for it. And you do have some resell with Tyrese. The NBA guys like him a lot. Zubac probably has some resell, so you can kind of go for it and not, and obviously you're not gonna miss out on the top guys if you win the lottery. But yeah, for me, I don't know if that's the move they really should have went for. I don't know if he fits them wholly unless they are
yeah.
trying to adapt their style, which makes a lot of sense to me. And what I'll say for Rick Carlisle is he's really Hawks fans like hate how Quinn like isn't adaptable. Rick Carlisle will just like come up with a new scheme, like with a brand new team. It'll look nothing like what he ran with his old teams, and they will run it like they have been well drilled. So yeah, he could come up with something brand new for him and Tyrese and Pascal and really shock people, because that's really kind of what you want to do, man. You don't want people to always know what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just for me, that pick is just the main sticking point, as always. I think Zubac is really he's a really great center. Like, that's a guy that I wanted on the Hawks for years. It sucks that he's on like the Pacers now, so and we have to deal with him for 3 or 4 times a year, you know. But it's gonna be interesting to see how he adapts to the Pacers. But like you said, Chris, they're probably gonna find a way to adapt. So I think they're probably gonna be fine. It's just, imagine if that pick ends at 5 and Caleb Wilson's there. You know, that's a mistake. Like,
I just realized we got to get a center, man. Zubac is in the East. That just really in.
I mean,
AD's in the East. Zubac is in the
I don't
East
know.
now.
I mean, we get Isaiah Hartenstein's a free agent.
Yeah, we got to get iHeart.
We got cap space. We're getting
hopefully
66
all these
million.
teams in the East have like enough teams have gotten big.
We
Like
got
the Wizards aren't
plenty
competition
cap
for iHeart
space.
now.
50 billion to Hartenstein. 50 million to Hartenstein. It's fine. He'll get plenty of money here. But let's talk about the next trade. The Memphis Grizzlies get Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, and 3 future first-round picks. The Utah Jazz get Jared Jackson Jr., John Conchar, Jock Landale, which I mentioned before was traded to us, and Vince Williams Jr. So the Utah Jazz are basically stopping their rebuild. Well, not really, because they're trying to tank. But the Grizzlies are starting a new era with Cedric Howard and Zach Edey. What's your thoughts on this trade? I'll start with you, Chris, since I've always started.
The Grizzlies are doing good business. I think that's one of the better run organizations in the NBA. It's unfortunate for them that they're like in the worst city in the NBA, so like nobody actually wants to be there. So it's hard to attract many players via trade, free agency, or probably even draft workouts. They probably got to draft some guys on sight unseen, but they've consistently, I feel like, moved off of their pieces when they needed to. They've seen when a run is over and gone. They've willingly gone into rebuilds, but they've turned it back over pretty quickly recently. And I think they have some good players now, and you got a bunch of picks, so you can kind of do that again. So I think it's just good business for the Grizz. I don't know if they were going to really break through in the West at this time. And with how things are going with Ja, it's best to go back to the drawing board. And now they have so many picks, they might be able to get Ja somewhere else.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't trade Ja, but at the same time, like, seeing what happened with Trey, his value, like,
yeah, the
value, they probably weren't
going
to get anything.
People are probably asking you for assets to bring Ja in, and now they probably have the pick to actually do that. And maybe you wait to see what happens in the draft next year Maybe Ja gets his head together and you can rebuild. But if you move him, you might be able to get another player back in. You go star for star. You got so many picks now. And that's a really good salary slot to use because you can bring in a really impactful player. For the Jazz, the Danny said that they were gonna compete soon. I think he told Lori that they were gonna stop the rebuild if he signed or something along those lines. So he kept his word. They hit on Keontae. Ace came over last year or last summer, and now they probably have another really good pick coming. And that's a four. You got like 4, 5, 6, 7 players already. Like at some point, you do need to start trying to win. So yeah, I respect it. I always respect teams trying to compete. I don't know if Jaren and Lori and Kessler. I don't know what that's gonna look like, but I know it's really huge. I think Keontae is probably as protected as could be in terms of size, right? As a guard, and you got Ace might be running the 2 at like 6'8" almost. That's a really interesting team. I really want to see what Will Hardy comes up with. I think he's one of the better young, smart coaches in the NBA. And if he ever does get away from Utah, I would definitely be interested in maybe bringing him in for the next phase of Hawks basketball, depending on where things go over the next couple of years. But yeah, I think if you're in the West and you're trying to beat Joker, because I think they're in that division. You got to have some bigs right now. They got like 3, 4, 7-footers and some really nice young offensive talent on the perimeter. Those bigs can finish. Jaren can kind of shoot. Lori can really shoot, and you got Walker who can block shots. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting basketball. I want to see what Will Hardy comes up with. It's not the move I would have guessed for them. I think that's kind of out of left field. But Jaren is a really good defender, and now you're pairing 2 really good defenders in Jaren and Walker. So
yeah, I think that front court is going to be really interesting. It's just this another super big lineup now, just like the Rockets try to do. But sadly, you get Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen. No, all 3 of them can't pass. So you got negative passing backcourt. So I think that's going to be a big problem. And then you have Ace Bailey starting. I think it's going to be really interesting, but I don't see how well it's going to work right now.
Potentially. That's a lot on Keontae George.
It's a lot of Keontae George. It is. So, and they did almost win a game with Jaren Jackson Jr., but they're tanking, so they pulled it out in the 4th quarter. So, but overall, I think obviously with how big they are, they're probably going to be able to potentially be in the play-in next season. So, I think if you had to ask me, I think the big winner obviously is probably the Grizzlies. I think they just start going off the rebuild. They start their rebuild off well. I think also with Jaren Jackson Jr., I think his defense has been declined a little bit, which I think is a little concerning for them because let's say his block numbers or his steal numbers start to go down. I think that front court viability is going to like waver a lot. And that's when you really have to just start to think about more of the viability of it, honestly, especially with like things like the negative passing and possibly the shooting and stuff. And also, when was the last time Lori played like small forward? Like a few years ago?
It's been a while. He definitely is like a lot bigger now, though he is a solid ball handler. And in FIBA, Lori's pretty much the point guard, bro. He was bringing that thing up.
It's gonna be interesting. I really want to see.
If you're playing the Thunder, who basically run 5 guards almost at some point, like if Chet is 7 foot, but man, he's skinny, and they got 4 guards around Chet half the time, like. And J-Dub and Chet are like the only 4. They don't even really like to go double big anymore. That might be the counter, man. Is like it's what Houston's doing. Is just go huge. I think that's given them issues before. I thought it would have given them issues last year against Minnesota. I really thought Minnesota had a
Yeah,
chance. But they're small. And if you're gonna try to attack anything, try to attack the size, I guess. So we'll
yeah,
see how they can play.
yeah. I think yeah. It's probably like the way to just beat OKC, just destroy them with size. So
Yeah, you got to try to you need size for Joker, and maybe you need size for OKC. The
yeah,
West is interesting. We're gonna and Portland's got a bunch of size. Like, there's some big teams out there.
yeah,
Everybody's getting a 7-footer, man. We're gonna have to definitely need to get a big. Got to
yeah.
get a big.
But this is gonna be the last big trade I'm gonna mention before I'm gonna get to the last small question I want to ask. So the Dallas Mavericks got a whole bunch of stuff: Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson,
Yeah.
Marvin Bagley, and a bunch of weird, bad picks and protected picks. The Washington Wizards got Anthony Davis, Jane Harvey, D'Angelo Russell, who doesn't have to report to the Wizards, and Dante Exum. So the Wizards have Anthony Davis and Trae Young. They're going to be competing, obviously, next season. I think the Wizards GM even said like the tanking rebuilding is over himself. So, what's your thoughts on this trade? I know you have some thoughts. Yeah,
it's a pretty crazy trade. I really saw it. I didn't see it coming at all. I started a 2K save with my player on the Wizards because I thought their trade deadline was done. I was like, oh, this will be fun to play around with Trae for a little bit before the Hawks make their final moves, and I can start a save with them. And then the Wizards trade for Anthony Davis, of all players, like megastar, and they're saying that they're trying to compete now. And this is a team that I've talked about this before, where teams need to go in while they have good young players on rookie deals, like the rookie quarterback in the NFL. And they have a super pick coming, and they have Sar on manageable money, and they got Trae and AD now. Like, it's like they're really trying to like go for it while they have these young guys, and put this group together and see if they can at least make the playoffs and make some noise. You know, you're not always trying to win a championship. I don't know that they think they're a championship team yet. They might become one over the next few years as these guys grow around Trae and AD. But I think they give them a chance to maybe play in a winning environment. It's exciting for the city. AD has to be healthy for this to like really be impactful. I think that's been an issue for him the last few years. But if AD and Alex Sarr are like healthy and together in a front court, that's really disruptive and gonna be really hard for teams to score on. I think they have to figure some things out with some players that like haven't really played serious basketball before in those young guys. So it could take a year or so for them to like really get going. And who knows if Anthony is still ready, like by the time
yeah,
those other guys are. But I think it's fun, man. That's a fun NBA trade. I think the Wizards, like I said with the Jazz, man, I respect teams that like go for it and are like gonna say like we're gonna try to be better than what we were, and ending your rebuild is I can respect it. And also I've heard the 27 draft is like mid, so like no one really.
yeah. I heard it's terrible too, and the 2028 draft.
So
like,
the drafts like aren't really worth tanking for. So, you got AD without giving up any real assets, and you still can go make a move from here in the future, maybe using AD's money to bring in something else if you want, or maybe using some picks to move Trae or whoever they want to do what to do. They have some options moving forward. I think there's some teams that went ahead and took care of their offseason at the deadline, which makes a lot of sense for me because players don't like free agency. It's so risky. You're competing with like other guys for like one or two spots, and like only 3 or 4 teams might even have money. So for teams to like go out and get the guys that they are targeting for next season at the deadline and like get that out of the way early, I'm not mad at those teams for tanking like down the stretch. Like, it's whatever, man. You came this far tanking, like continue to tank. But I do respect them bringing in the guys and saying like, hey, next year we're going for it. We got these young guys, but we want to win.
Yeah. My opinion is that I think the Washington Wizards are billing themselves to create the greatest 34 win team of all time. You know, I I get why they got 80. You know, they have a bunch of cap space. They got Trey. But at the same time, I just don't understand it. Like 80 is consistently injured all the time. Now he's getting older. His shooting, his touch is getting worse. I think Trey also. I love Trey. I think Trey's a good player, but like the injury, like he's starting to get more injured as time goes on, and his efficiency has gone worse. So, and also I think the Wizards, in my opinion, and I know you're probably gonna disagree with me on this, Chris. I think they have the worst young core in the league. So I just think that just buying in now to this is just, I think it's a mistake. I think it's a real mistake. And I don't think it's going to go exactly well for them personally. We'll see what happens. As usual, I say I'm always probably wrong on this stuff, but I think the defense is probably going to be really good, especially with 80 on the court. Yeah, because, 80 is like literally a legendary defender. And, Sar has improved a lot. So, and hopefully with Trey playing, he's going to be able to do the best thing he's always been good at, which is, setting up big men and, being able to create offense for them. So I think he's going to help improve the offense a lot for them. But I don't know if this is going to be like good enough at this point with the talent that they have to really compete in this East compared to other teams. That's just me.
No, that's fair. That's very fair. I don't know if they have the worst young core. That's crazy.
I mean,
Keyshawn George and Sar is solid. Bilal's not really an offensive guy, but he can defend.
I don't think Bob Carrington's good. I think Bilal's bad. I think Sar is a very interesting player. I think the defense will eventually be good. I think his offense is terrible. I think Keyshawn George is like my favorite out of those guys. I think Trey Johnson.
They do have a super pick coming too.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's true.
AJ DeBanso on top of all
that's
that.
True. That's true. That's true.
AJ at the 2.
I feel like honestly, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm not denying that. Not denying that at all. But I said right now, I feel like they have the worst young core in the league. So right now, that could change. That could change entirely. But right now, I just don't think they're that good. It's not personal. I just look at their team and I'm just thinking to myself when I watch these games, it's just they're really, really bad. Like even compared to something like the Nets, they have better rookies at times. Like Igor Demin is better than like 3 or 4 of the players I mentioned. So I'd rather have him than like Bilal, Bub. That's 2 guys already. So I'm interested to see what happens with the Wizards. I don't think it's gonna work, but
they have a lot of offense at the top. When Anthony Davis really only has to play like 60, like they have a nice group of players. Like unlike the Hawks, whose guys like kind of washed out of the league that were cheap, like they have a bunch of cheap bodies that can defend. So even if AD doesn't play 80 games, if he plays 60, 55 games for them, that's like a lot of games of really good defense. And if you can get him in the playoffs healthy, man, that's like 25 and 10 from Trey, 25 and 10 from AD, and then Sar maybe giving you that 18 and whatever he's dropping. Like that's a very interesting group. I don't think they're gonna win games. I think it's gonna be really difficult next year. I think it will be one of those like building seasons, and if AD's body can hold up, they might be interesting season after that. But no, the East is honestly, I think it's gonna be really, really good overall. There's a lot of teams whose rebuild, like the Pacers are getting to add something. The Pacers added Zubac. Like the Magic, I think will probably be better next year with the year Bane under their belt. I think it's a conference that is flat right now. It's really competitive. Like you never
Yeah,
really know what's going to happen. The Hornets are getting better, and the Hawks are
yeah,
about to get a really good player. Like the Celtics are going to get Tatum back. So yeah, I think it's going to be a battle. I don't know if there's like if this guarantees that they're going to make the playoffs next year, but it does. I think they will be a better team, right? And they'll be more competitive. So.
yeah. I mean, I expect them to be more competitive. If they're not more competitive, then there's a problem.
That'll be crazy.
There's a huge problem. But like, it's just right now. It's wait and see for me. They have to prove a lot of things to me in order to see if I think they're probably gonna make like the plane or something. It's
Those
just
are going
right
to be
now. I
some
think.
crazy matchups with the Hawks, man.
Yep.
The Hawks matchups are going
Yeah.
to be crazy. People are going to lose their minds over those games.
I'm gonna hate hearing people talk about the Wizards every single day next year.
It's
It's gonna be
complicated, man.
terrible.
They're going to be topical for Hawks fans for a while when you
Like,
like trade your best player somewhere and like
yeah,
use like the guy for a while. There's a lot of people that are going to be like having an eye on that team. The Hawks really kind of need to win more games than the Wizards next year.
if they don't, oh my god, it's gonna be
Optics, they
terrible.
really need to do that. And
Oh yeah,
it would suck if they got a higher pick than us in the draft. I know it's probably going to happen, but
you know
it would be really unfortunate.
that's the perfect segue for what is the last MIDI question before we end this out. Okay, our pick currently stands at the third pick, 1440. That's the Pelicans record. We have 52% chance of being top 4 overall. Do you think we're going to stay at top 4 overall right now? Do you think the Pelicans are going to be this bad with the way teams are taking?
The Pelicans do look like they're going to win more games than I think we were hoping for. I think they will probably fall out of that like holding top 4, but you do kind of want to be in that jump up range because that's just kind of how the draft is like worked lately. You want to be a team that jumps up. Like it almost feels like there's like a second filter or a second like layer on top of the formula that like rewards better teams nowadays because you just see like teams jump. Like 4 teams have jumped more than once recently. So it's disappointing to fall out of the top 4 because like your guarantee gets worse the further down you go. But for me, I mean, it's all the same like hope and luck anyway, bro. You're hoping to win the lottery. Like the odds are never really in your favor. Like even if you're number 1, you 14% chance. 14% chance to win to stay there. And even if you start there. So it's not great regardless of where you are. You really just want the best spot if you get screwed, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Like you want to be as high up as possible so that when you get screwed, you can pick 5, right? So that's where I'm at.
For me, it's like I didn't expect the taking situation to be literally this bad. Like the Wizards literally pulled out their starters in the second half of one of their games against Detroit after the deadline. They still won, but like they just completely tried to give up. And if it's gonna be this bad, I'm worried about whether or not this pick is gonna even stay in the top 3. Like for me personally, as long as we just stay in the top 3, I'll be happy, right? Because I think even if New Orleans is gonna win like some games, the Pelicans are terrible. Like, and plus they don't have Jose Alvarado anymore, which means Jeremiah Fierce is going to play more, and he's been bad. So, I at this point, I'm just hoping we just stay in that 1 to 4 range because they have plenty of good options. You know, I have my list. You know, I have my list for a draft here. We'll probably talk about the draft eventually here, so I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, we've been talking in the group chat a little bit, and I was telling people, I was like, look, 1 through 6. You got a really good player that I think you should be crazy excited about that like might change formulas here for what they're doing long term. I think as long as you're in the top 10, you're still getting a good player. I don't know, they might not impact the team as soon or in as big a way early on, but you're still getting a quality talent. The type of guys that get pushed down when you have this many young players, there's gonna be older players that like that are really productive basketball players that you can pick there, or maybe just the sheer volume of youth. Like there's going to be guys that in that 7, 8, 9, 10, even if you do get like truly screwed, there's going to be like some Jaden Quaintance types, the Ngongbas. Like you're going to start to get to some bigs. Koa Pete, who I don't know what position he plays, but he's another big, strong athlete that you can put in front of people that are big and strong to make it hard for them to score. Because really, you just want somebody that's strong and can put his hand up so that dude isn't pushing him under the basket. You know what I'm saying? So we can get Koa and these guys. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm very excited to just see where this pick ends up. Because the tanking has been terrible.
It's gonna be nasty. Yeah, it was always gonna be nasty. Especially, I thought the teams were gonna start earlier in the year. Tanking.
I mean, they start earlier in the year. I'm pretty sure.
I meant like selling. Nobody was selling. I was like, dog, why don't y'all just trade these dudes away so you can just lose instead of having to yank half your team? But you know,
I'm surprised Adam Silver hasn't said anything about this or done anything yet. Like,
he kind of gets it right now. He probably gets it. He works for the owners, bro. He can only say so much.
Yeah, that's true. But we're gonna end the episode off with that. But thank y'all so much for listening to Hard Knock Hawks episode 60. I can't believe this is literally one of our longer episodes with only 2 people. That's crazy, but we had a lot to talk about. Thank y'all so much once again for listening. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We will see you all next time.
Like and subscribe.